In this video, I'm going to reveal the 5 ways that I consistently get high-skilled concrete workers to apply to work inside my business. I'm going to reveal all of the strategies that I've used to grow my own business to over 18 employees in just 5 short years. Before I knew these strategies, I remember working some of the longest and hardest days that I've ever worked in my life and being booked out for months, all while still not making the money that I wanted to make, simply just because we didn't have the proper manpower to get the jobs done at the rate that we needed to get them done. I know that if you're watching this video, you're probably in the same situation or similar situation that I was in just only a couple years back, so I hope this video serves you well on your journey to increasing your own company's manpower and getting as many people to call you as you possibly want to work in your business. But I will say each tip that I give gets progressively more powerful as the video goes on, so make sure you stick all the way to the end so you don't miss the most powerful strategies coming at the end of this video. Alright, so time for tip number 1, which is to create a good brand. I remember the first 2 to 3 years of my business, this drove me crazy why I couldn't get people to work in my company, and I couldn't understand why until I realized this very basic concept of creating a good brand. My first year in business, it was literally just me and my father-in-law, who was my business partner, and then we had someone that was a subcontractor that would work for us every single day, but everyone else worked for us only on a daily cash basis. This was really frustrating because we didn't have people that wanted to work just like normal W-2 jobs in our business. We actually had big problems with quality, and it was always super inconsistent on getting guys to want to come work with us, and because of that, it was almost impossible to schedule jobs, and our company just felt like a huge nightmare. But that's when I had a realization. I kept wondering why my competitors, like I had big competitors that would get tons of applicants and almost all of the amount of guys that they would possibly want, versus me and my small little company, Caesar's Concrete, when we first started, we could literally get no one to apply for us. And that's when I had this realization that one of the big differences between me and my competitors was they had a brand and I didn't. I realized this because why would someone want to be an employee versus being an owner of a company? If someone is an employee, they value things like pay, safety, like job security, and room for growth as they go on in their career. If you have a really small company, and especially one that hasn't built up a really good brand in your area, you basically have no room for growth for people that would work for you, and the perceived vision of what you can offer them as an employer is that it's going to be very risky to work for you because you're so new and you're such a known name. They don't really believe that you can keep them busy, and if I were them, I probably wouldn't work for me back then either, because if you really think about that, why would they go on risking their own livelihood just to try to help someone like me? I mean, if you really think about it, if I was an employee, if I was a really high-skilled worker, whether that be in concrete or really like any trade, I would want to work for the best brand, one of the ones that have been around for the longest, one of the most known ones, is because the only reason I'm working is to get a paycheck to take care of my family. And so I am going to pick the safest way to possibly do that to ensure that I always have work, that I'm always able to take care of my family, so on and so forth. So if I was an employee and I saw a company like what mine used to be like, one with a really bad online presence, one with almost no letters on our trucks, we didn't even have company apparel, from the outside looking in, it looks like we were a super dangerous and risky place to work for because it didn't really look like we had our stuff together. And so now looking back, I totally see why all of the high-skilled guys wanted to stay clear of companies like mine and just instead work for some of the bigger companies in the area. It's because it looked way too risky to work for a company like mine. And so if you watch any of my other videos, you know how big of a proponent I am in marketing, and this is part of the reason why, is because marketing helps all the way around. It's not just to find employees, but marketing is based on the way that people will perceive your company, and that includes concrete workers or other skilled people that you want to come work in your business. And if you don't have a good brand, it's going to look way too risky for them to make the big jump. And so to create a good brand, I can make a whole separate video on this, but I wanted to list down below just a couple things that can help you right now since you are looking for help on this right now. To increase your brand, at minimum, get things like company apparel, a proper website, good online reviews. Keep your trucks clean, and at minimum, put a sticker of your logo on the side so that people will start recognizing your logo around town. And invest in brand awareness campaigns. Alright, the number 2 thing is to have a great company culture. This kind of goes hand in hand with number 1, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, and especially because some of the tips that we have coming up are going to be a lot more implementable like right away, but stick through this because having a good brand and having a good company culture is going to make all the other tips that I reveal a lot easier to implement. When I talk to a lot of other small concrete contractors, I notice that their life feels very chaotic and very stressful. And if you feel very chaotic and very stressful as the owner, most likely that is being felt by your employees. They're probably feeling very hectic and very stressful as well, which does not lead to a good culture. Sometimes as business owners, what we want is for everyone to take the job of what we're trying to accomplish as seriously as what we feel like what we need to take it as business owners, but that's just not reality, and that will never be reality. So we have to stop thinking that our employees are going to treat our business as their own business too. Their work environment should feel relatively stress-free and, if anything, fairly friendly. I mean, again, think about a very high-skilled concrete worker. Most likely, they don't have the drive to want to start their own business, and what they want out of life could be a lot different than what someone like me and you could want, because we are the ones that are trying to start a business and create a better and bigger vision for our future. But that's not necessarily a bad thing from the employee perspective. What they want is a job where they can just go to, enjoy, basically go do their work, get their paycheck, and then go spend their time and their life with their loved ones, and I don't necessarily blame them for that sometimes. So I've taken a list of a couple things that will help with your company culture, so I'm going to go through them quickly here. So if you need to, just replay this back and start implementing some of these things, because this will help get the number of people that are calling you to work for you a lot easier over time as people get word of how it feels to work inside your company. So what are some quick tips to increase your culture? Do things like activities outside of work. People like to be part of an organization where it feels like family. So if all you ever do is get mad at them about the job site stuff, it's not going to feel really great to work for you. Versus if an employee goes to work, and yes, I'm not saying to like be super buddy with all your employees, but give them an opportunity to have a community outside of work. Do things like hang out on the weekends or throw company parties, or really just provide them opportunities to be part of your company as a community outside of work. Number 2 is transparency of goals. I can't tell you how many people that work in the trades business and they have no idea what the goals of the company are. And so that's the thing, is actually giving them the goals will make them feel motivated and make them feel like they're a part of a bigger cause if you're transparent with what you're trying to accomplish as the business, and that will create a big team environment, which obviously would help culture. Have clear mission and values. You want your employees to know the exact type of company that you are. Like, are you a company that's more like Walmart, where you're kind of trying to be cheap, and because you're trying to be cheap, you guys need to like work super efficiently, but you're trying to still have a good product for a low price? Or are you on the other end of the spectrum where you're more of like a luxury product, and your employees have to understand what type of company you are and what type of values that you have? Because if you don't say it, they will make the judgment for themselves, and this can make the business feel super chaotic and super messy because employees are all assuming different things. So as the owner, you should tell people exactly what type of company you plan to be. Are you more on the high end? Are you more on the low end? Do you want to provide great service? And what does that really look like? Like, what do you really care that your customers feel and experience from working with your company, and make sure your employees know what that is to be expected of them. All right, another one is shared wins. Everyone likes to be a part of a team where everyone wins when the company wins. So how I do this is I create things like bonus incentives for my employees. Another thing to increase culture is the leaders need to be accessible. So what does that mean? So if an employee needs help with something or a question, you as the owner of the company should be accessible to the employees in a friendly and timely manner. Just remember, if you're super busy and chaotic as the owner, your employees aren't going to feel like they can come to you if they have any problems, whether it's with work or outside of work. Get rid of toxic people inside of your company. If you have toxic people, ones that are always bringing bad or negative energy into your business, it's going to bring everyone else down. And even if they're really, really high skilled people, it's going to do your company a lot more harm than good to keep them around just for their skill, because it's going to bring the rest of your team down too. Provide ongoing professional development. Make sure that you're always giving your employees a room to grow if that's something that they want. And the last thing is trust and caring. You have to be able to trust your employees if they've proven that they can be trustworthy, and you have to care for them other than just being an employee. If you do all of these things, that will help increase your culture, and I promise you, you will actually have people start to call you and beg to work in your company versus having the opposite problem, which is not having anyone want to come work in your company. Number 3 is a company referral program. So if you've done a really good job of creating a good brand and creating a great company culture, then this third tip, which is the referral program, will be super easy to implement inside your business. People really enjoy working with friends and family. So if you have a good brand and a good culture, then implementing this third strategy will literally just be able to hypercharge everything that you're currently doing. This was actually the first thing that I did in my own business that literally started to take me, I think it was like in year 2 or 3, we went from like 3 employees to 6 or 7, and we did it pretty easily, and this is exactly how we did it. So what I did is I told my employees of my existing business, I think like I said I had 3 or 4, and I went up to them and I told them that I was creating a pay incentive to actually refer us to get other highly skilled concrete workers to work inside my business. And so what we did is we offered all of my employees $250 for every person that they referred that stayed with us for at least 3 months. And the cool part is what we told them is even the people that they were referring that worked in our business, that we would also give them $250 if they worked with us for 3 months. So this did 2 things. One is it created an incentive for our employees to actually go out to their friends, their family, people that they had in their phone contacts, and actually call them and get them to come apply at my company. And it gave the people that were applying an incentive to work for us, because not only at that point did we have a better brand and a better culture, but we were also offering a bonus just to get them on board and basically taking the risk to come work at my company. So now at this point, I basically had a bunch of salesmen that were promoting my own brand for me, but instead of selling my product, they were selling the opportunity to work at my company, because everyone wants to work with friends, families, or people that they know. And so especially once I had number 1 and number 2 done, and then I created a pay incentive to get people to actually be incentivized to come work for me, that is when things really started to turn around. Number 4 is to go to other people's job sites. So this tip in particular will work if you don't have time and you don't want to wait for things like a brand, company culture, referrals, all of that stuff to really start kicking in. So if you're in desperate need to find highly skilled workers, this will work immediately. And let me explain a little bit about how it works. I started my own landscape company in 2022, and I didn't know anyone. I had no brand. I didn't know anything about the industry, but I was able to find 3 really high skilled people to come work for me just because of this strategy. So what I did is I kind of did a little bit of number 3, which is the referral program, but instead, because I had no existing employees, I basically gave all $500 for new sign-on bonus for any new employee that would want to work for me. And how I did this is instead of my employees doing all the work and basically going and promoting my business for me, I had to go do that myself. And so what I did is I made some really nice business cards. Then I drove around to all of my competitors' job sites. I went to places like new build areas. I would even just go to some of the more like upscale neighborhoods, and I would literally just drive through the streets until I found some of my competitors' job sites where basically like my dream employees were already working on. What I would then do is just park my car. I would watch for a little bit from a distance, making sure the employees really couldn't see me. I know this is a little bit creepy, but I promise it actually works. And so it is gonna feel uncomfortable, but make sure you hear me out in implementing this. If I liked the way that the employees worked, what I would do is I would walk up to them. I would try not to cause like a lot of people to like look at me directly. So I'd try to find a time when maybe only a couple people were outside, versus like if they had a really big crew, I wouldn't want to draw a lot of attention. What I would do is I would pull people aside, and then I would just ask them if they had any friends or family that was looking for a job in your related field. So for instance, for me at that time, I was looking for landscape workers. And so I would go to these landscape workers and I would say, hey, my name is Tyler. I own a new landscaping company. We're paying really good. And I'm even offering a $500 bonus for people that want to start working with my company. Do you happen to know any friends or family that would want a job in landscaping? And most people would just like simply tell me no, which was fine. And I knew that it was going to be a long, arduous journey to try to like get my name out there, especially with stuff like this. But what this did is I would sometimes get in trouble by either like the boss, the owner, or like the crew foreman, because it kind of looks like I was trying to steal their employees, which I was. But the way that I made it seem innocent was I was saying, well, I'm not really looking to steal your employees. I'm looking to see if they have any friends or family that are currently unemployed that would want an opportunity. But what I would do is I would pass out my business cards and say, hey, you don't have to decide right now, but think about it. If you know anyone that's looking for a job in this field, give me a call here. Here's my cell phone. And so what would often happen is I would either get kicked out of job sites, or people would tell me no to my face because they didn't want to make it seem like they were interested in getting a job, especially in front of their boss or their coworkers. But a lot of times after work, I would get texts and calls of the people that I passed out business cards to that wanted to learn more about my opportunity. And that basically gave me the entry that I needed to then sell my vision and sell the opportunity of working with my company. And you guys would be shocked of how many people are not satisfied working in the company that they're in, but they're also not in like job search mode. It's not like they're going online and looking for jobs or calling their friends and family. But if an opportunity presents itself to them, then they are more than willing to at least look into it to see if it might be a good fit for them to switch. And just remember with this process, it is going to make you feel super uncomfortable. It's not fun to be getting kicked off job sites, to basically be making enemies, but something you have to remember is we are business owners and we have to be willing to do things that we are uncomfortable with, especially in the very beginning. So I would use this tip, number 4, of like going to your competitors' job sites if you have no employees and if you don't have time to wait for things like your brand and culture and a referral program to really take into effect. And tip number 5 is to run a Facebook ad campaign. So this is the easiest and the fastest way, but it does require a little bit of an investment. But if you're a business owner, honestly, you should be having some money left aside to invest into your business. If you don't have money, it probably means that something that you are doing in your business is not working. And then at that point, you don't have an employee problem. You have more of a business formula problem where you're basically not generating enough money for what you're doing. When I used this strategy in my landscaping company, I actually got, I think it was like 15 applicants, and I did have to spend, I think it was about like $400. But if you think about it, I had $400 of ad spend and I got 15 people to reach out to me, which granted, keep in mind, most of the people that reached out to me were of really poor quality and I really couldn't hire them. But for $400 in my time to put together the ad, it was well worth the investment. So what I did is I created an ad and at the very top, I said attention landscape specialist or attention concrete specialist. And then I went on to say that I'm looking for only 1 or 2 really high skilled people to come work for me. And then I would give their pay rates, which at the time I was paying anywhere in between $25 and $35 depending on experience. Then all I did is I talked about a little bit about the benefits that I could offer as a company, and then I told them the way to reach out. I talked about the great pay, the great incentives, the great culture, all the things that I was trying to do to build my presence. And what I did is I only ran the ad at night. So I think it was from like 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night because I knew all the really high skilled people were probably just getting off their days. They were just getting home. They were going to start scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff. And what it did is my ad would catch them probably when they were feeling tired and exhausted and basically like potentially fed up with the company that they're at then. I don't really have time in this video to show you how to run a proper Facebook ad campaign, but if that's something that you're interested in, just YouTube how to run Facebook ad campaigns, but just keep in mind, kind of use the same framework that I gave you, which instead of trying to sell a product, you're trying to sell your company to get people to reach out. And what you have to do is put yourself in the shoes of your dream employee. What are some of the things that they would want? They'd want a great culture, great benefits, and they would want great pay. But if you do that, all those things, you would be shocked at the type of person that may or may not apply in your business. All right, bonus tip number 6, if you've made it this far in the video, is to like and subscribe to my channel. And I'm half kidding about this because I don't want to be cringe, but at the same time, I am one of the only concrete contractor YouTubers that is actually talking about the business end of the things and not just showing how to do the work themselves. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos that I'm due on any sales tips, marketing tips, or simply just like business tips altogether. Also, make sure you check the links down below because I do work one-on-one with concrete contractors on helping them grow their business, marketing their business, and I even have a software for concrete contractors. So if you're really looking to grow your business, make sure you check the links down below. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.